Welcome back to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I'm Harvey. I'm here with Kaz, and we're here a couple days after the Freedom 250 to talk about our impressions of the race, of the broadcast. Just a quick one here because what's been said about the race has been said about the race. We don't need to talk about the actual racing that much. I want to talk more about the atmosphere, the fan experience, and just some of the things that maybe they need to work on if they're going to do this race again.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, as I said before the race, the photography is legendary. There are some really beautiful images that came out of this race. Seeing those cars in front of these incredible monuments is really very cool. I'm not at all opposed to the notion of I thought that DC the way it functions as a city would be too complex for them to be able to pull this off. Um, all credit to the captain, man.
Yep.
You did it. You figured out a way to do a race in DC downtown. That's pretty incredible. I'm not opposed to them doing this again.
No, I think
Um,
between Penske, IndyCar, the city of DC itself, and the mayor, and
mhm.
then obviously Secret Service, White House, all those people work together to create a pretty good event for the first time.
It seemed like it ran really smoothly. Now, there certainly are complaints about the fan experience, and they're
Yep.
exactly the ones we've already addressed. There's not a lot of fan viewing along the track. Along the track, there are no screens. So you can go into the infield, not the infield of the track, but the infield of the
Yeah, on
mall
the mall.
and
Right.
watch screens, or you can go and stand along the track and watch cars, but you don't get to do both at the same time. I've also heard that there were no speakers along the track and
Ah,
that a lot of people didn't know that the race had started until they saw cars flying by. That's
yeah.
that's a big oversight, guys. You really do need to provide ways to make sure that people who are only seeing a small segment of track can contextualize what they're seeing. Otherwise, it's just a the most
Yeah.
diehard race fan isn't going to love that experience.
No,
So,
I also heard
so
that,
that's not ideal.
they
And
were
I
running
heard,
out of food.
concessions ran out, beer
Yep.
ran out. I heard, oof,
Bad.
that's bad news to a Wisconsinite. Milwaukee will not run out of beer. I promise you
No,
guys
I,
that.
yeah, come to Milwaukee. We have all the beer.
It's all here, guys. But overall, very successful event. I still don't know that I would look to this race as a fan unless they really change the layout of where. And I understand
Yeah.
that some of these races are going to have to be big corporate sponsor things where a majority of the good view goes to the people who put up the money to make it happen. That's fine. That's the world we live in. I just probably wouldn't attend this one unless they make really significant changes to the GA experience. But I also think that this would be a great race to bring friends and family who you're not trying to get into IndyCar, but you're trying to get them to be more tolerant of it, maybe is the word.
Right. Well,
Because
yeah,
you
I
can give
heard.
them all this cool stuff to do and you can watch the race
I
and
can't remember which section it was in, but one fan talked about the fact that they were able to watch the race, then walk into the Smithsonian and do a nice tour of the Smithsonian while no one was in there, and
that's
then
really
come
cool.
back out and watch more of the race. Super cool, you
That's
know.
really cool. The,
No,
the only problem with that is like I would prefer to be able to just watch the race
yeah,
and it seemed like they didn't make that a possibility. I'm glad that they had all of these other things that people could do
yeah.
because that
The
makes a full
GA,
experience.
I guess the GA grandstands filled up right away.
What I say, man, get there
Pe-
early if you
yeah,
want a
people,
seat.
if you moved, you lost your seat, all that
Hmm.
stuff. So, yeah, it wasn't a great fan experience, but we didn't expect it to be. And
No,
then,
and it doesn't have to be.
yeah, and then the bumpiness of the track, I thought really impacted the racing in a negative way. We saw a number of people taken out by, not being able to have the kind of grip they needed in key parts of the track, going into turn two, into turn six, those areas, unsettling cars. Even McLaughlin's crash, I think, was a little bit due to some surface issues where there just wasn't any grip where he was.
And I want a track to be challenging, right? But there's a line, it needs to be functional.
Right.
The road surface for me is one of those things that I really just don't think we should mess with. Scooching barriers around to make corners a little trickier, I think is fantastic. But
Right.
road surface should really be something that we focus highly on and make sure that that's ready. I know that there are, Andretti in particular, I think benefited from the bumpiness, and that's great that a team is able to find a way to make that work in their advantage. But for me, in general,
Yeah.
improper paving doesn't make for a better race. It just means that a team might unlock something that helps them out a little
Well,
bit.
I think it's the same in Detroit. We complain about it in Detroit.
Yeah.
One of the reasons the surface didn't in DC wasn't as critical as say it is in Detroit is because that track was so wide, right?
Yeah.
And they were able to run around them in some cases or whatever. But it's
Mhm.
not optimal. I think the track could, if they looked at it again, I'd like to see them make the track a little longer, a little more than 2 miles would be great.
Yeah.
And then the race needs to be shorter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I know
know.
why they did 250.
I was excited at the notion of a longer street race, but then as I started watching it, it hit me that the best thing about street races is that sense of urgency,
Right,
the need to take somebody at whatever corner you can.
right.
Um, with a super long race like this, people and we talked about this prior, people would likely be running something similar to an indie strategy where you're looking at three stages.
Yeah,
And they did. And I in the first stage when Kirkwood had made his move and everybody kind of just fell into a line and there was some action to be sure, but it just felt like nobody was really pushing it as hard as they could. And then by the time we got to the point where they wanted to, there were too many concerns about the surface and people had spread them. I mean, Kirkwood wasn't catchable by the time the race
right.
was a, hey, now it's time to really put it down. So it was just it didn't work for me having a street race that long. I don't want any street race ever to be that long ever again. We can
No, and
try it
if
on a road course.
right, if they wanted to, they could have made it 250, but made it kilometers. Although
Yeah.
not in America, you know,
Yeah, you got
not
to use
not
freedom units.
America. Got to, yeah. But that would have been 155 miles, which feels about right for a
Yeah.
race like that.
Yeah, I think it was a good test and I completely understand the reasoning behind doing it, but I don't think it really worked out. And I hope we don't see extended length
Yeah,
street races in the future. It just
it
didn't really it didn't add anything for me. It felt like we
no.
had a parade and then a race,
Right.
not
And
like a
then, and
race
all
with three
that
stages.
did was just gave all this time for the announcers to fill. And,
Yeah.
it got a little over the top, I think.
Yeah. All right. So now here's the part where we touch the part that everybody's been avoiding, which is the politics.
Right.
And look, I don't think I'm going to shock anybody. Over 35-year-old child-free woman with pink hair living in a college town leans left. Um,
Yeah,
and
like
that's
IndyCar, you just turn left all the
yeah,
time.
I just
Oh,
turned left. That's all I do. And I have no problem with this being a space where we get to exist with people with all different kinds of thought. And I'm really, really happy for all of that. The coverage on practice and on qualifying all day on Saturday, as I was watching, really felt like they were highlighting the things that unite us, talking about the history of the place where they were, about the meaning behind all of these monuments. Even when they interviewed somebody like Zach Brown, who is very different than me ideologically, it was still all a focus on the things that we all love, that we all came for. And I really appreciated that. And I would have probably not wanted to even have this conversation if that had continued on Sunday. But I think maybe it was the extra time. I don't know what it was, but the race coverage did feel more like it was focusing on things that divide people. And my biggest example, and this isn't coverage so much as it is race production, I cannot be the only woman or man or person who noticed that they did gentlemen start your engines, not drivers.
Right.
I know we didn't have any. First of all, I know this sounds like a small point, but my first experience being excluded from motorsport was as a very young child when I was told Girl Scouts don't do Pinewood Derby, only Boy Scouts do that. Okay, so cars are for boys, I thought. I'm not saying I would be a race car driver now if that had been different. Like I
If you
don't
had had
have
a
I
Pinewood
don't
Kirby.
have the guts for it, and I certainly don't have the chill. But but I remember now at my advanced age, more than 30 years ago, that moment where cars were for boys, not for girls. And IndyCar, I looked this up. The gentleman driver start your engines was first used at the Indy 500 in 2017.
Right.
So it's been at least 9 years that we've been consciously making the decision to make that start call more inclusive. And I know we didn't have any women driving in this race, but we had Catherine Legg driving in a race this year. And, I think we know the drivers pretty well, but you don't know what anybody is doing in their personal time. So
Right.
let's make this inclusive for everybody. Somebody somewhere made a choice to say, gentlemen, start your engines, not drivers, start your engines.
Yeah.
In order for them to change it from what is the standard, it means somewhere, somebody, even if it was just those two guys
Well,
making the call, said,
right.
hey, we're going to do gentlemen, not drivers.
But and the
That's a
thing
bummer for
is
me.
that aligns with the rhetoric we've seen coming out of this administration with their anti-woke blah blah blah. And is this part of that? Sure feels like it.
And that was I'm talking about that moment specifically because it's a fairly small innocuous one, but I felt moments like that throughout the coverage consistently,
Right.
and I was disappointed because I would much rather IndyCar be a space where I can be united with people who I might not otherwise have a lot of common ground with. And I felt that this race wasn't that. It
Right.
felt a little more like a rally
Yeah.
than a
Well, and
broadcast.
there definitely was some of that, whether and we can look at it and go, well, if another president had been there, would we have felt the same way? I don't
I had
know.
a lot of those thoughts for sure.
But and it may just be a visceral reaction we have based on our personal politics.
But but we are not the only IndyCar fans with these politics.
No. And I
And
saw a lot of comments online about it, and there are a lot of people who looked at this as sports washing and other things. And a race in DC shouldn't be, right?
yeah,
It should be a celebration of America, a celebration of IndyCar, and, a celebration of the things that got us to this point.
it's I keep coming back to this phrase. It should have been about what unites us, not what divides us. This was a great opportunity for people from a lot of different backgrounds to all enjoy the same thing and find some common ground, even on something small. And it was disappointing to me that they chose not to take that opportunity.
Okay,
That's my thoughts on the
we
broadcast.
let's leave that there and move on to our victory lane game, which was maybe slightly more successful than the broadcast. I
Yeah, a
don't
little
know.
bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
Maybe.
we'll see. Uh,
Well, my podium wasn't, so we can start there and say I got none of them right because I had Pillow, McLaughlin, and Award, who I thought would move up, and boy, did he have a miserable day.
Yeah, let's talk about Alex for just a quick second. I
Yep.
know that we don't really need to rehash the race, but oh my God, Alex Palou's terrible mixed up, very bad day. Woof,
Yeah.
everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I thought it was so funny when he was interviewed after that he said, and he said it kind of tongue in cheek, but like we got these all out of the way in the one race. There's a scary thing there, And it's that's true. The mistakes made today is a season's worth of mistakes. Well, the mistakes made Sunday, sorry, is a
Right.
season's worth of mistakes for Alex and the team at the 10 car. Um, is this indicating bad to come? I don't think so. So we'd have to have a lot more data points for me to be worried about them. I think this was just a very bad day. And
Right.
yikes, you sure don't want them getting all their sillies out in the same race because if there was, I know that the broadcasters have to talk about the championship race like it's
Right.
real. So I'm not going to hold it against them too much that they did after Kyle won and Alex had such a terrible finish. But like, for the championship race to open, Alex would have to do this twice more.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen anything from the 10 car to indicate that, and it's a scary notion to think of everybody on that team with a personal stake in making the next race their best race.
Right.
Oof. I look out for Alex at Milwaukee. That's all I have to
Well,
say
yeah, and
about that.
he didn't have a bad year there last year, so we'll just
Sure
see
didn't.
how that goes. Okay, your podium, you had Will Power on the podium.
I was slightly more successful. I was hoping he'd come back and take the whole damn thing. And I was still hoping for that, even when it was clear that that was not going to happen. But still 12-3 is a great growth and it's a podium point for me out of position, but correct
Yep.
driver. I also had Pillow on my podium. Who wouldn't, I'm
Right.
not stupid.
When he
Um,
qualifies first, right.
and then I did pick Marcus Armstrong to come up and he sure did not. So
No, he
every
didn't.
time I pick Marcus, he doesn't make it work. And every time I leave him alone, he does. So I think for both his and my sake, I'm just going to leave it. You won't hear his name out of my mouth in Victory Lane for the rest of the season. That's not because I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, and I know that Kyle Kirkwood doesn't listen to the podcast, but it seems like every time we leave him off the
Yeah,
podium, he proves us wrong. So good for you, Kyle.
absolutely. Yeah, look,
Um,
great drive from Kyle. He
yeah,
was awesome.
yeah. So biggest mover, I had Kevin Simpson, who was the biggest mover of the day. Kevin had a
Yes, he
great
was.
race, so
Kiffin's
happy
been
to see that for
looking
him.
really good the last couple of races.
Yep.
No shock to anybody that he's the development project at Ganassi. I'm really impressed with
Yep.
the development and what he's done is I think he's done enough now that next season and in particular in 2028 moving into the new machinery I'm really going to have my eye on him to see
Well,
what I,
yeah,
I think it might be coming to time now where he's done enough good that now he has to be that good all the time.
right. There are going to
Hmm.
be expectations on him next year and especially in 2028.
Yeah,
So his success leads to more pressure.
absolutely, as it should
So
be at the
that's
highest
good.
levels of
Yep.
American motorsport.
And you had Renus VK.
I had Renus VK who was having a really nice day, solid climb. Who knows what would have happened if it weren't for a track surface induced triple crash that he blamed Rasmussen for. Don't blame him for that. If I got bumped by Christian Rasmussen, I would also assume it's his fault.
Right.
But he was contrite about it after.
Yeah,
So
when he saw the actual video, he apologized online. He said he did text Christian and apologize as well.
yeah.
So so that's all good. Biggest bust, I had Christian Rasmussen, and when that little exchange happened, I was like, "Ooh, I might have
Ooh,
this
maybe I
one."
get a point.
And then he drove away from it, so I
Yeah.
didn't. And
But I just, Scott McLaughlin's got some terrible luck. And I had the
yeah,
sense that today would be the day that it came for him again. And it sure
uh,
did.
I
Scott
don't.
McLaughlin,
Yeah, I wouldn't have called that terrible luck because
well, he's also made some terrible moves, let's be
yeah,
honest. He's a great driver who's highly capable of just a real boneheaded mistake. Um,
that was
yeah,
one of them.
and that was one of them.
Yeah,
If they race in DC again, hopefully he'll finish on the podium, just like he did at Indy this year to make up for his boneheaded move last year. Scott McLaughlin did lose as many positions as Alex Palou. So
Hmm.
Harvey and I talked about this pre-recording, and we've decided that I do still get the full point because he is the biggest bust. And I think that that feels bolstered for me by the fact that Alex went back out to get that to get those positions back. Alex would have been the biggest bust behind McLaughlin if he
Right.
had not taken the time to get the car together, get back out there. That's what makes the team at the 10 car so good, guys. They take
Hmm.
every opportunity, every
Yeah.
tiny, not every car could have gotten back out, but if you can, God damn it, you do. And Alex always does. So
Yep. And then we'd go to our plot twist. And I had said Alex would wrap up the championship, which he did not. So I
which he
lose a
did not.
point there. So I end my day even at
A-
0.
And I had bought into the chaos of it all. Even though I said that they'd be running indie stints, I don't know why whatever. I make decisions in a bizarre state of mind when we play this game, I think. I had said that more than five teams would take 6+ pit stops. And we only saw two teams take more than five. So
One.
one team took six, two teams
Right.
took 5+, everybody else took three. So I do not get those points either. Did I bet two or one, Harvey?
You bet one, so you end up plus
Yes.
one.
I'm
You
+1 on the
extend your
day.
you extend your lead.
Yes.
So there you
All
go.
right, we're making moves in the championship, you guys. This is going to happen. But unlike the IndyCar championship, ours is going to come down to the wire.
The best news about this is we get to turn the page on this. We get to stop thinking about anything except racing
Hmm.
because this weekend is the Milwaukee 250. We have two of them. Race on Saturday afternoon, a race on Sunday afternoon, the Snap on Makers and Fixers 250 on Saturday, and the Milwaukee 250 on Sunday.
Guys,
Um,
we will get into this more in the next day or two when we
right.
do our preview, but the Milwaukee Mile is a very special oval.
Yeah.
It's not like anything else you'll ever see.
And
Um,
and to
and we can't
preview a
wait.
little conversation I had with Renus VK
Mm.
earlier today, he loves the Milwaukee Mile.
Renus, 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 Renus. I'm
All
Renus
right.
VK. I've got great eyebrows.
For Rides and Drives Team Radio, I'm Harvey. She's Kaz. You can follow our socials, Harvey_drives, Fast Car Kaz. And we also have Rides and Drives Team Radio on TikTok. So look for us there. And until next time, we're out.
Drive safe, everybody.